Chairman, and I echo most of your comments. It is trying times, there's no doubt about it. The transit equity has reached all of us, because we've heard from the honored citizens, disabled, and along with your request to extend this transfer hour. I was right on it from the beginning, but as I look through this, there are more, as the chairman here has indicated. There's a lot of priorities on the table. If this can work out, as you said, Mr. Chairman, to be economically neutral, sure, we could move as soon as we knew that, definitely. But the more I hear about it, it's almost an unknowing whether it's going to be economic without neutral, without an impact. But I'm like you, I want to hear more. I think it is worth studying, and to your comment, we have some experts at PSU, and I think you already used a couple of them, and that's very important to it. I think that gives an outside to, and I was sorry to hear that there was some errors made but we're not here to cause blame, we were here to point out where the accuracy is and to move forward on it. The comments to clean buses, I've got to comment again. We talked about this before. There is no excuse for a dirty bus out there. I know they can react quickly if something happens on a bus. So we talked before about this, Mr. Chairman, and I've instructed the management here. As a matter of fact, we'd like to see more people hired back to clean these buses at night. Well, we want clean buses out there. You want clean buses. That's what helps our ridership out. As to no free round trips, there are no free round trips. You pay one way to get a transfer in the first place, but I know what Neil meant by that, and that was that the free trip would be on the return, or maybe more. It's worth looking at. As you said, Mr. Chairman, I would support that. And I would move, Mr. Chairman, that we instruct the management of Trimet to meet with local and outside independent experts to have further study. And I do agree with you, there can't be a time limit on it. There's all kinds of things, and I think we need that info, that we can't put a time on it, but they report back as soon as they got new information to report to the board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
The conversation we had really extends well beyond the concept of transfer. And over the last several months, more than a year, I think that one word has somewhat clouded the emphasis that members of the public would be providing. Changing the transfer policy and action may achieve some element of social equity. It may or it may not. I think the conversation today described what your interests are, just to have both the board and the staff and executives of Trimet to be attuned to, aware of, and engaged in providing a transit system that at its best is cognizant of social equity and produces results. How do we do that is the real question. A transfer policy, as you recommend, may not be enough. It may be the first thing, but in fact it may not be enough. Trimet and the folks we've heard from today are rather robust in getting somewhere. We do that every day. So I would think that over a period of time, and it's not 4 weeks, it's not a month, we can robustly get somewhere by working together and doing that as we chose to, I believe, in July with our handicapped and elderly disabled community. This is a very tough time for all of us. It's a tough time to balance all these things, but the board's commitment, even without a policy, is to do that. And I think I've seen Neil nod. I think we're committed, and we will act together and make policy decisions as a community. I think we should probably today think about some other commitment than word transfer. And I think it has confused us. We also should commit, as evidenced by the staff and your respective audience participation today, to say that we need to be both accountable and accurate. So let's do that together.
Mr. Clark, how long might you think this will take?
Well, I think as a group, we're thinking that the elderly and disabled, the lift evaluation is going to take until the end of the year. It may be that we have to balance folks. It may be that we have to balance those and lift no pun intended, and lift this dual burden and the economic analysis of the economy and our labor matters while this year plays out. So by the end of the year, that we evaluate both lift service, this transit equity piece, the ATU matter, and the economic forecast for next year, and do that in a very coherent public way, a very coherent community way.
And I would add other priorities like safety and the cost of that. And there are the ones that deal with transit-dependent populations and the disabled community and the community you all represent. But there are other priorities as well. And we're doing all of this in the context of a difficult financial period. So I think we're trying to weigh our priorities and allocate our resources as effectively as possible and as efficiently as possible. And this is one that we'll put in that mix as we go forward and evaluate. But first we have to have the facts and what the economic analysis is going to say.
President Venner, real briefly, we submitted our position on the preliminary cost analysis. I got it to Trimet staff Sunday night at 6:30 p.m. We had a response. We had a downward revision by 50% of that estimate by 11 a.m. the next morning. It doesn't take a ton of time, so respectfully, we do need some kind of realistic time parameters that require monthly updates on this thing so that there is a little bit of a stick behind that carrot to make sure that we're moving this thing forward.
I'm not sure what, I'd ask General Manager McFarland to respond to that in terms of what kind of time you think you need.
We're very happy, and I'm very happy to commit here to my bosses and to the people here that we will follow the general policy or the framework that's laid out here, where we will meet with Opal. Actually, I'm happy to have a member of the board at those conversations in a very transparent way as well as the external experts and our own experts to review this and answer these questions. These are exactly the right questions, the questions that I think the board wants to have. I think and we're happy to provide you monthly updates on that at each business meeting as we progress that conversation. I think to the other comments of the board members, obviously we're in very tight budget times, and I mean, I wish I was general manager in very different times than I'm here now, because I can commit, as I told many of the Opal representatives when I met with them on Monday, there's no greater transit advocate in this region than me. I'm Neil McFarland. I'm a writer of the 1, the 12, the 43, the 70, the 17, and various max lines. And I know the system. I know that the cuts that we've had to make are tragic and are difficult for people. That said, we have a series of needs that are in front of us, and we're going to have to balance those in some intelligent way. And I think we're going to have to put those all on the table at the same time, more or less, as we begin to plan the next budget. Because there are trade-offs. We don't print money, as I tell people and my staff. We don't print money in the basement of the Center Street building. It is really a zero-sum game. And so we're going to have to look at that very carefully. And I'm committed to making that as much a public, or not public, but certainly open, transparent process with the stakeholders that are here. And we just commit that to the board and certainly to the people here. It's an important conversation. It's an important issue. I grant that, and I want to make sure that I acknowledge that.
Again, I want to thank everyone that came today. I want to thank John for making this assistant presentation. And I think you I hope that you're satisfied with the commitment of the organization to move forward with you and looking at this issue.
Something formal.
Sure. Okay. Go ahead. Lenny, why don't you repeat the motion?
Yeah, that the board direct management staff to meet with Opal and outside independent, particularly PSU, transportation people that are experts in the field too, and that they put this into the perspective of, correct the errors if they were errors, and that we get reports back. So you said there's no time, I'm not going to put a time frame in the motion, just that we direct the staff to meet with Opal and the experts in the field, and report back. Thank you.
Board member Clark? Board member
I want to speak to Lynn's motion.
Good. Excuse us. Let's let Dr. Bethel have it. Go ahead.
I will not support the motion naming one expert. So if he makes a motion saying that we are bringing experts and those that are needed, I can support it. If he limits it to Portland State, I tell you now, I will vote against that motion very loudly.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Well, I thought they were the experts in transportation, but I can accept that, Doctor, that if there are other experts out there that bring them forth, we shouldn't eliminate anybody out here, or anybody that has good information. So I could take out PSU if it helps you.
To our board member's motion, it seems to me that we have enormous issues before us that require a comprehensive evaluation of fares. We've already established one of those considerations around the lift. I would like to call upon our board with our communities, our entire community, to evaluate, as Neil has told us he will broach with us at our retreat, a fare policy evaluation, a FARE policy evaluation that describes, and I would call upon that in an immediate context to continue the lift service evaluation, the social equity evaluation we've heard today, and at least a short-term economic evaluation that will portend for next year. And I would hope that given the enormous consideration of the communities that we've heard over the last 3 months, and the fact that we have to prepare a budget, that we complete that evaluation no later than January 31st, so as to provide the board a decision upon these issues in February. That isn't to overrule any previous board motion we voted on in July, but it is to say that we have a requirement to consider these together and do it in context for our community.
Okay, well, we have a motion, and it's been amended by...
It's not been amended, it hasn't been seconded. I just described it.
Why don't you restate the motion, and I'll ask for a second, and we'll get on. Okay.
Why don't you read the motion?
Sorry.
What I was hearing is Lynn was saying that the board wants to direct staff to meet with Opal and community leaders and report back to the board.
You say community leaders?
Is that?
No, I said experts in the field of transportation. You should put public transportation experts. Because we need feedback on that Minnesota thing that they quoted. I need more info. That did spike the ridership. We hear it, but I think we need more info that had a direct influence.
Then are you satisfied with that?
Yes.
All right. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.